better behavior and he was really carrying the thing with some responsibility, I probably voted Trump. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's funny because all my life, I always kind of swung to the right. You know, I was raised in a household where, you know, whatever, all the different foundational belief systems that the Republicans espouse and everything, so many of them. And I kind of tended toward that side, right? And as I've grown and matured, I'm in my 5th decade now. I'm like, I don't really tend that way as much anymore. You know, I think there's values in my life that have shown themselves where I'm more of a, and again, I don't want to go to extremes. I don't want to say that see, and this is the problem, Richard, is a lot of people just default instinctively to an extreme. I think that's a big aspect of the problem. And again, I don't want to talk about politics. I want to just talk about the essence of how we as a society are coming together to make something work, right? There's so much, I saw something recently that, you know, what is in the Native American, there was this elder that said that, you know, the left wing and the right wing are attached to the same bird, right?
Exactly.
And
That
it's,
makes sense.
as I espouse my beliefs and I talk about belief systems and everything, I've become a person who's all about making the bird healthy.
Mhm.
And what I'm up against is both sides, the division and the extremes. Like I've said before, I think the problem is extremism either way. And then all of a sudden the extremists will say, you're wrong because you need to choose a side. And maybe there's some validity to that, you know. Maybe as this civil war happens, you know, if you watch The Social Dilemma, like we talked about, there's a civil war on the horizon. Where are the party lines going to be drawn and which side are you going to choose? I don't know. Maybe I'm going to choose, it's funny, it's back to the wheel we talked about. I'm going to choose to be in the middle of the wheel. I'm going to choose to be a person who holds that wheel together. Because if I go to one side of the wheel, it's just going to be out of balance.
Well,
But that's
yeah,
a
I mean,
tall order.
right. I mean, it goes back to, yeah, what are you fighting for, you know? We're fighting for the whole bird, not for one side of the bird, one wing of it, but for the whole bird. And if, if you happen to be a person who has more insight, values towards seeing things in a more conservative way, then yeah, it's worth having that viewpoint, to bring to the table as me or someone else on the other side having more of a, left leaning for the people, for the poor, or for, just the values of the other side, and bringing that to the table. But the point is to bring them both and to have some new way of how to negotiate, new way of how to communicate. But it's going to require a new language to understand, to be able to bring these different viewpoints and concepts that's going to serve the whole. It's really, it's about that. How does it serve the entire bird? And I think we've lost that because that's what human design is about as well. It brings a new language that's straight across the board, that sees every human being exactly the same. Doesn't matter what level of the economic ladder you're on. Everyone is exactly, we're built the same way. We have all of the same sort of components, but but we're wired up differently. So we bring different nuances that make up this entire whole. And it's about respecting that. It's about, I'm not saying that everyone should be paid, exactly the same way for their efforts and so on. No, it's going to be different. It's just not how it works, because, we have different skills and different capacities and different,
Roles.
yeah,
Right.
different roles. And so, we figure that out, whatever I mean, it's already occurring out there, but finding some sort of a balance, so that everyone gets a piece at the table.
Hmm.
It's not necessarily going to be, it won't be the same for everyone, but everyone should have a fair stake in it.
Hmm. And it's funny, as you and I wallow in the analysis of this, I can't help my analytical mind is always striving for a conclusion and an answer. And what I'm realizing is maybe there is no conclusion. Maybe there is no answer. Maybe the answer is the fact that what we talked about before, I am here to do the best that I can do as I surrender to that heart essence and realize that I'm a spirit who was put here for a reason, right? And as I do that most effectively, one of the thing that comes to mind in the context of division, back to that language, how do we communicate? And you talk about in a language, it's a new language. The whole human design is a component of us realizing something that we didn't realize before, and start getting competent in the language of expressing that. And again, it's all metaphor. So competence in the language of expressing that is basically just being ourselves and surrendering to that essence, right? And
Yes.
and you're right, as we all do that more effectively, then the bird becomes healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And then naturally the extremes stop being so extreme, maybe. I guess it's an ideal that I've got. So anyway.
I mean, I think those components will always be there. And I mean, the universe is, it has all the components, but in terms of the organization of how we can organize ourselves so we don't blow ourselves up. Yeah, those extremes can have their place on the fringes, and be accepted, for what they bring to the mix, but we don't have to bring them into the middle, because or maybe we do,
Maybe we
maybe a
do.
representative, you know,
Yeah.
if we
It's,
do.
I mean, the thing is, as I'm listening to you, I'm like, oh, I want to agree with you, but
maybe.
I can't agree with you. Because if you think about, I mean, I think about like the demise of civilization, right? And there's movies. I love movies or metaphors like who's got their finger on the button, right? What does that mean? We press the button, nuclear holocaust, we're all done, right? Who has got their finger on that button? I mean, metaphorically, but at the same time, literally, in the context of both extremes, we need to buffer that extreme level of thinking that somebody would actually push that button. I mean, again, it's all metaphor, but it's kind of a complex metaphor. How do we influence the people that have the power so they don't exercise that power with such an extreme that it destroys us all? And I think that's what I'm here to show up as, is call it a moderate force that creates a level of consensus so that this side and its extremism, right? My wife and I were talking about fascism. And everybody's like, oh, I look at people on the right that are saying that, oh, we're going to become socialists and fascists, right? And then I look at people on the left saying, oh man, those rights, they're just going to become,
Fascist.
dictators and fascists. And it goes either way,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
I can't get away from that being a force of good in the context of moderating things, right? And bringing us together. And that's, I guess, the message I want to convey is that we get to play in that space if we feel so compelled, and I think exemplify it, because I think, frankly, that's what I think the solution is, but that's just me. And I think you espouse the same philosophy, maybe.
Mhm.
And as we exemplify this, I just want to ask more people to start coming on board, right? And affirm it, exemplify it with us, and raise our voices kind of as a choir, right? So we can sing loud so that both extremes can hear it and say, hey, what is that? Maybe I should listen to that.
Mhm.
Wow, what a great metaphor that is.
Yeah, maybe we should, get some extremists, like extreme, before we get the extreme ones, let's get the central ones, and then bring all of the various, voices into our enlightening conversations here, and just see how it all bridges. That could be a pretty cool experiment.
Well, I think we'll have to update our mission statement then. The mission just became much stronger, I think. So.
Hey, this is we came in without an agenda, and we'll see where it goes, which feels really good. So.